Welcome to the new episode of the No Secret Sauce podcast. My guest on this episode is Rory Palmer. Rory is a personal trainer, property investor, martial arts coach, and author. In this episode, we will talk about property investment, business, personal training, martial arts, and Rory's journey from one GCSE to financial freedom. I'm really excited to bring you this episode because we get to speak about Rory's journey from his early days in school, how he got through his first few businesses, how he started, how he failed, how he nearly got expelled from school, how he followed his dad as a role model and start investing into property that eventually got him from one GCSE to financial freedom. Rory will open up and give us a few insights and key principles and ideas that got him from zero to financial independency. We're going to have a chat about how he got started into personal training, how he grew his business, and also martial arts. We will talk about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Rory is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Rory is also author of 2 books, one of which I have right here. It's called Financial Freedom. You can find this book on Amazon. I gave this one a read. It's a pretty good book. It will give you a few insights into Rory's journey from the beginning and how he got started into property investment and what are his plans moving forward. With that being said, I hope you enjoy episode 4 of the No Secret Sauce podcast.
Rory, welcome on the show.
Charlie, thank you for having me, kind sir. Good to be here.
Nice to see you again. After a nice jiu-jitsu session last night.
It's good fun. You've got me back in the gi again. I was thoroughly enjoying that, I must say.
To be honest, I'm actually excited to get some rolls back in the gi because it's just such a difference to go from gi to no gi and from no gi again to gi. And I had this time in between where I haven't done gi that much. And there is a part of me that loves the gi game. Yeah. So just to have that possibility of just going back and actually doing a little bit of gi, it's just,
Definitely.
you know.
Yeah, it's good fun. Yeah, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, we are talking about it. And yeah, it's I think it's lovely to do both. You know, and yeah, it's just a sport I absolutely love, and you're very good as well. Got the most relaxed style I think I've ever seen. Love it, don't know. You just say so patient and calm. It's brilliant.
Thank you. It's actually something I've encountered not long ago. I was a bit spazzy at the beginning, but not long ago I had the chance to meet one of my friends now. His name is Nick. He's not very big. He's very small, very skinny. He's about 60 kilos. He's a purple belt. He's extremely skilled. He's the most gentle assassin I've ever met. Yeah. As soon as I've rolled with him, I just realized, oh God, there is so much to this game.
Levels to everything in life, isn't it?
The amount of taps, the amount of time I got swept by someone that was half my size, it's just ridiculous.
That's the beautiful thing about jiu-jitsu though, isn't it? Because it was designed for the smaller man to beat the bigger man, really, by leverage.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's fantastic.
And also at the same time, I always like to believe that jiu-jitsu is, I don't know if it's the right way to say it, but it's more cerebral and then physical.
Yeah, well, I can understand what you're saying.
Right. You have to solve a mental puzzle.
Yeah, it's always described, people never done it before, it's like human chess.
Exactly.
The more moves you know, the ones you're skilled at, the more chance you got of getting a win or advantageous position.
Exactly.
And yeah, there's something very beautiful about that. Hard for anyone to understand who have not rolled, but good fun.
But Rory, it's great to speak to you, and obviously I'm excited to find out a little bit more about you and your beginnings. For anyone that doesn't know you, I want to ask you first, who is Rory?
This is the question, Charlie. Who is Rory? Who is Rory Palmer? I don't know, I think I'm just a normal guy, really. Just very lucky I get to follow my passions in life. So it sort of feels like I never really work a day in my life, which I think is a very privileged position. I'm very, very lucky to have that, because I just do what I love, and then I make money out of that, and every day is a fun day. So yeah, I feel very, very blessed.
That's great. I'm just going to run it back. I'm going to go back in time from your early days. Can you tell me, where have you grown up?
Oh, so I actually grew up all over the place. We were moving all over England when I was younger. Dad was quite into property, and we sort of ventured here, there, and everywhere. And yeah, so we even ended up overseas for a little while, in the Isle of Wight, which that counts as a 45-minute catamaran ride. It counts. Did like the Isle of Wight, but then from the age of 12, we moved back into Ashford, Surrey, where we live now, and I've never left since then. But I absolutely love Ashford.
Amazing. Now, because I've read your book.
You've read it now.
I've read it now.
Oh, I feel the pressure now, Charlie.
I know there's a few things that happen in between.
Yeah.
From Margate,
Yeah.
Isle of Wight, and then obviously Ashford. There were some things in between, right? I want to touch up on that, if you can expand on that.
Yeah. So yeah, life was very sort of up and down, I suppose I would describe it as a child. Very happy child. I was very, very lucky with mum and dad. They were always extremely loving and supportive, and I had a lovely sister. Everyone got on well, but then my mum and dad did have a few tricky times. Unfortunately, they lost everything in the 90s recession, and we fell on hard times. Mum and dad broke up, and then we was in emergency housing for a little while, and it was an experience. It was definitely like a bit of a fall from grace. One minute you're in this massive house in Margate, and my dad was driving around in the Porsche. He was on holidays like 7-8 times a year, and then you're in emergency housing, and you're sort of sharing a bathroom with everyone that sleeps on the same sort of floor as you. You've got a little room, damp, cold room, but we had shelter and we had food, because they provided breakfast at this sort of emergency accommodation we were staying at. So I still feel very, very lucky, but it was just a hard time for my mum. She didn't have any money, and she raised 2 young kids, and so it was a bit of a tricky time. But as kids, we were quite resilient, but it was much harder for my mum.
Did you manage to find the fun in the bad situation, because you were young, right?
Definitely, and he definitely felt like, my mum and dad weren't getting on very well at the time, and obviously there was a lot of love there and sort of twisted feelings. I just wanted to try and be supportive for my mum. She was going through a hard time, and my dad as well. Like, I always hero worship my dad. But yeah, that was an interesting time. But honestly, I'm so grateful for it, because I feel like challenging times rounds out your character, makes you appreciate things when you do finally get something or start doing a bit better in life. So I wouldn't change it for a second, personally.
You think that experience impacted the future of your life from there on in any way?
I think it did, actually, because it made me realise, people sort of say money isn't important, this, that and the other, but when you haven't got any, then it does become extremely important. Like, it's not that important, but it's up there with oxygen. It's when you really are struggling to put food on the table, and and it sort of was a big catalyst of my parents breaking up. So I think it did sort of register with me, and I was always quite money focused as a child, and I wanted to save my pocket money and not spend it on toys, and I was quite always thinking for the future a little bit. So I think it probably did have an impact, yeah.
And I want to touch up on your school days.
Oh dear. That didn't go so well there.
What's happened there? Tell me a little bit more about that.
I don't know. I think school really wasn't for me in this. And I loved school in the sense I had lots of friends, I was quite popular, I was very sporty. Academically, I always struggled a little bit, if I'm being honest. I wasn't the brightest spark when it came to like traditional education. Just wasn't that interested. and I suffered a little bit with dyslexia as well. So I sort of struggled with my words. I had to go off to this special class with the kids that literally just entered the country, didn't speak any English, and I'm in there with them, like learning my real basic stuff. So I suppose it was a little bit embarrassing getting taken to that class, and yeah, but it is what it is. And just because you don't necessarily do well at school doesn't mean you're not going to do well in life, because they are very different things.
I'm just going to ask you, what were your favourite subjects when you were at school?
PE, 100%. It was the only GCSE I got was a B in GCSE PE, which I'm very proud of. So yeah, it was definitely PE. I actually loved history as well. I find it fascinating. History always repeats itself. So yeah, that topic I really enjoyed. But yeah, I was running a bit short after that.
Was it any teacher during your school time that has impacted your life in any way positively? Because I know, yeah, negatively could be many things, right? We all have that teacher that we absolutely dislike. Yeah. I'm not going to say hate, but we definitely dislike with passion.
Yeah, I had a few of those.
But at least in my example, has always been at least one teacher that said something or done something that opened up your eyes for a different perspective.
Yeah, teachers have a very important part, because they really, like, they got confidence in you. You can start doing better. I think the reason actually I started to like history, I wasn't very good at history. Then I had one teacher that sort of showed a bit of interest and said I was really good, and then it really spurred me on to start learning. And I was like, wow, this is like changed everything just by the teacher changing. But I was very lucky actually with my form tutor when I was at junior school. She was lovely, and my senior school form tutor, I was like, the class favourite, and she loved me, and it was lovely, and I really thought the world of her. And I actually really liked my headmistress at my senior school as well. She was really lovely, was really good to me. Lots of the other kids didn't like her, but I got on really well with her. But in my junior school, the headmistress hated me with a passion.
Was he the dragon?
She was the dragon. She was the dragon in the book. She really hated me. Yeah. And yeah, she tried to expel me a few occasions. Yeah, some of it was my fault. Some of it, I think, she might have just hurt me a little bit.
I want to touch up on one of the reasons why you nearly got expelled. It was, I believe, your first entrepreneurial.
Yes, that was my first entrepreneurial experience.
There you go.
Actually went really, really well, to be fair, for my first go. So I was the first person to have a Game Boy in my school, and another friend of mine had loads of Game Boy games. So we went into partnership. It was my first partnership, and we started renting out the Game Boy. And it just sort of, someone said one day, "Oh, I'll have your Game Boy for £1 whilst I'm playing it with these games." And then the penny dropped. I thought, oh, hold on a minute here. If you'll have it for £1, then other people will have it for £1, then they'll take it home for £15 and, use it for a whole day for £10. And then, yeah, that sort of really kicked in my head. And I was actually started making quite good money out of this Game Boy because no one else had it. My dad took me to London one day. We bought it in the shop and it just wasn't about. So I had this little window where I was the only person. We never had anything like that before. So kids were going mad for it. And I started coming back with pocket loads of cash. And I was very happy about that. But then all the wheels come off eventually, sadly.
The dragon found out.
Well, she did find out, but one of my best friends, still one of my best friends to this day actually, he borrowed it for a whole week with all the games. And it was basically the price of what you could buy the Game Boy for. Roughly, that was like £120, but like back when I was like 9, 10, that was actually quite a lot of money. So we gave him the Game Boy, the games, he gave us the money. But it turns out he liberated the money from his parents' shop. And the dragon, my headmistress at the junior school, said that we had obviously intimidated him to steal the money, as he was a very good kid. We were maybe not so good, but he was one of my best friends, and there was nothing like that at all. And said we were going to get expelled, so our parents were called into the school. And I just remember walking away feeling really sad because I loved my school. And I thought, I'm going to have to change to a new school. I'm not going to know anyone. My dad and my mum sort of fought my corner. I could hear him shouting with the headmistress, but she was adamant, like, no, they're getting expelled because, you know, her exact words were, first it's this and then it's drugs in the toilet. So, yeah.
That's a transition.
That's what mum and dad said. And I've never even touched drugs, never smoked a cigarette, never drunk alcohol. So, yeah, she was way off there. But luckily, my friends, mum and dad, who I got on very well with, came in and said, no, this is my friend's fault. We had not intimidated him in any way. So luckily we were reinstated back in the school, and I managed to see it out in that school. But that was my first business adventure. Sadly got shut down. But it was good. I had to give a lot of the money back as well, sadly, which I was very annoyed about, but it is what it is. But it was a great experience. It was a great little learning experience, and I was quite young. I sort of started a little business without really realising I had.
Was there any lesson learned at all from that experience, from that entrepreneurial?
There was actually, I think it was. I think that was my first little introduction to supply and demand. Like, there was massive demand, there was no supply, so then I could charge money for something, and I was like, oh, that really interested me. And it was great just making this money, but it felt so easy to make. It wasn't physically really working. I just had something that other people wanted. Yeah, that definitely stuck with me. My mum and dad, even though I almost got expelled, they were very encouraging of me trying, especially my dad, who was very entrepreneurial. So, yeah, it was good and bad to take away from it.
So definitely your dad was the most entrepreneurial in your family.
Yeah,
and
100%.
Was he the one that you were looking up to the most?
Yes, my dad was my absolute hero. Idolised my dad. I just wanted to be like my dad, I suppose. And he was like always running lots of different companies, and lots of them failed. Some of them went really well. But I always really looked up to him in all aspects, including my dad was a boxer. So I think that's what I got into martial arts as well, because, like I say, like my dad was my hero.
So through your dad doing sports and business, all that influence got you, obviously something clicked in your mind, and actually you picked up all these information about ways to do business, and you've seen all these possibilities around, and obviously martial arts as well. So that influenced you growing up.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
I want to keep going after your first business, the Game Boy. What happened after that?
So after that, obviously we couldn't rent out the Game Boy anymore, otherwise we were going to get expelled, which was very sad, as it was obviously a nice little earner at the time. And then business come to a grinding halt after that. Didn't really do any businesses, just little sort of cleaning the wheels of people's cars, that sort of job, but nothing very good, hard work, not a lot of money to it. And then when I went to senior school, I had lots of little businesses, some with some success, some not so successful, but it was all experiences. Used to go over car boots and sell novelty lighters, and then at my school sold electric bikes, sold bikes from police auctions that had been stolen and got bought cheap, and sold them at boot fairs. And I'd say I had very mixed results.
So you clearly stuck to it. You clearly stuck to the business journey. You still did your bits and pieces there. You didn't go towards the academic route.
Yeah, no, I didn't. And, because I saw my dad and my mum always be sort of making that own money, I just sort of saw that's just how I wanted to do the same thing. I didn't want to work for someone tell me when I can have a holiday, what I can do, can't do. It really didn't sit well with my personality. And I think that's why with the teachers as well, some of them, they got it and they were good, and there was like a certain level of respect to me, got on like a house on fire, and some were just like the authoritarian teacher just never sat right with me. And I realised probably not going to be very good working for someone else.
Great. Wow. It seems like this sort of character traits repeat themselves throughout people that are following the path of business. They're following the path of becoming an entrepreneur, whatever the character traits you just set out now, it just seems like it repeats.
I think it is quite common because
is
you were
very-
quite naughty as well at
Yeah,
school here, Charlie, which
yeah.
I'm very surprised about. You've got such a calm, easygoing demeanour. But yeah, so obviously it is a common thing. I just watched the Sylvester Stallone documentary and he got expelled like 12 times. I did not know this, but it didn't surprise me either.
It's just something to do with your authority.
It is, yeah. Just
It's just something to do with being told what to do, when to do, how to do it. It's just, it doesn't sit well.
no, God, no. Just if I want to go on holiday, I just want to go. I don't want to say, oh no, you can go. Just can feel myself like tensing up just even thinking about that. So, and I think it's just because that's the environment I was brought up in. Maybe my mum and dad always did their own thing.
And it, again, like, it just seems the subjects that you were being taught at school, because of the fact that you were not interested in them, you just sort of put them away because you had the hunger for knowledge. Because later on, you follow the path of becoming a personal trainer, right?
Yeah.
So you start educating yourself and learning about personal training and how you can help people achieve their goals in their fitness journey, right? It just seems like in school we don't like it, I say, because of the subjects that we're being taught, not because we don't want to learn. It's the fact that we get taught something that we don't want to learn at that time. It doesn't make sense for us then. We just want to learn something else, but we don't know what. You know, it's just a interesting.
Yeah, it is, and I just think schools are like outdated. They're designed to just churn out employees. There's nothing really like really encouraging or sparking. Right, start your own business. Even business studies when I was at school was just like an IT class in essence, learning computers. It wasn't really anything to do with business. I was really surprised I didn't like business studies because that was what I was interested in, but there was no business studies in it. Maybe it's different now, but yeah, I just feel like schools are always like 20 years behind the learning curve. And the fundamental things like basic maths, English, vitally important. But some of the other stuff, I don't know, just not as keen. But we're very lucky to get free education, and if you want a specific sort of field, like I'd become a lawyer, doctor, then maybe it's very, very different.
I want to go on the path of what made you choose the personal training.
That was easy because that was the only thing I was probably going to be any good at. Because physics, it wasn't a surprise that my one GCSE was in PE, and even like the written side of that failed. So that's why I got the B and not the A, which I surely should have got, considering I was in like every sporting team and athletically I was very, that was my talent. So yeah, I always wanted to be a PT, and I remember, when I used to come, school sort of person comes around and say, "What do you want to do?" That's what I wanted to do. But then they were saying I had to go to university and study science. And I could feel myself just glaze over, like, oh God, like no, that's not
for me.
I just know that's not my path. I don't want to be here now, let alone going on for another 4 years and whatever, getting into debt. It's not for everyone. It worked for me.
And how did you get started into your learning as a PT?
So I went to college briefly, and then I left college / got kicked out.
What do you mean?
I got kicked out of college after a few months. I was just sort of carried on from school, messing around. It was rubbish. I was with all the naughty kids I was with at my last school, and it just sort of carried on, and I realised I was wasting my time, wasn't turning up and misbehaving. So then I left and become a removal man, which my dad owned a removals company. So I started working for him, liked it for about 6 months, and then that ended. And it was hard work every day, lifting boxes, furniture for relatively low pay. And I remember looking at people that have sort of been removal man for 20, 30 years and thinking, this is not the future I want. My dad really wanted me to take over the company, as he was earning good money at the time, but I just had no passion, no desire, and it wasn't just about the money. I wanted to do something I actually enjoyed and had a passion for. And then one day I was on a really hard job and sort of half falling asleep in the lorry waiting for keys. You have to wait for keys for people to sort of, when they're moving house, and he come up, become a personal trainer, join Premier. And I was like, wrote down a number frantically and then went
Sign me
home.
up.
Yeah, 100%. Went home that night, said to Mum, Dad, I want to become a personal trainer. Like, that's it. I'm sort of giving him my notice here. And after the initial shock from my dad, he was actually very supportive, and so was my mum as always. And yeah, I never looked back. I was so glad I had changed over. Yeah, and I love it.
That's great. How was the first day as being a PT?
Honestly, I couldn't believe how much easier it was in a gym, because you start off just as a fitness instructor, just sort of walking around writing programs out and whatever. And I was like, wow, this is a day's work. Just talking to people at the gym, writing fitness programs for them, compared to like lifting furniture all day, which I had been doing, even though I took like a massive pay drop compared to what I was earning full time. So I was getting paid like a man's rate at 17 when I was working for my dad. But I just remember thinking, wow, I'm just so much happier doing this. But it did actually take a bit of confidence and a bit of training to have a confidence to go to someone and say, oh, I do personal training, I can help you out. Because I was only 18, I'm talking to like 38, 40-year-old men who are sort of looking at me like, who's this young kid, tell me what to do. So I actually used to lie about my age when I first started. I used to say I was 25, and because I was quite big, I got away with it. It worked. And one of my clients who I still train to this day, I admitted to him years later, like, I'm actually 25 now, not 7 years before.
Did you ask you invented the time machine?
He said, why did you say that? And I said, because I just want you to take me seriously and didn't think I was just an 18-year-old kid. But yeah, he's forgiven me, so it's all good.
It does make sense though, because you're going to get people, like you said, older people start judging you, like, what was this 18-year-old
Yeah,
kid
and you can
teach
understand
me
it.
how to lift weights?
Yeah, and I could completely understand that. So yeah, it was just a little political license there with the age.
Was it hard to get it started?
Honestly, yeah, it was. And there was no personal training actually at the gym where I started. And it was me and my friend John Ashwood. He'd just become a personal trainer as well 6 months after me. And we started PT off there. And he was going like much better than me straight away. And I could tell he was going up to people and asking them, and he was putting himself out there a lot more. And it actually really inspired me to like push on a bit more and do a bit more and break out the comfort zone. So yeah, I was grateful to have him on board as well next to me. Yeah.
And then I just want to find out from you, what were the first or the top 3 skills that took you from 0 to being extremely comfortable and very productive as a personal trainer?
Top 3 skills to me. Do you know what? It's actually working on my self-confidence and self-belief I would say, was the most important thing. And I used to listen to these Nightingale Conant CDs. And you listen to all he speaks about sort of believing in yourself, and you can only achieve what you can believe, and blah, blah, blah. And I love that. And I used to just drive around listening to them over and over again. Never used to listen to radio. I still don't now. I always listen to something educational whenever I'm in the car, because it's like free learning time. Yeah, that was a big change for me. And yeah, just once you start training one person, you get a bit more confident, naturally leads on to someone else because they get good results. So yeah, that confidence actually and believing in yourself, they were right up there. And then obviously just experimenting, learning your craft, because even when you qualify as a PT, you're just a baby still. You've still got so much learning to do, and you need to learn after the course about where you want to sort of specialise in.
Amazing.
Thank you.
I just want to move on. I know, obviously, in the meantime, from being a PT, there was a change. Something has happened when you and your dad decided to buy a property?
Yeah, well, I actually started that weirdly the same time, because I bought a property when I was 18, which I suppose is fairly young to buy your first property. And my dad was buying properties, and obviously when I was removals man, I was going around to people's houses a lot, and I was noticing, some of these really big houses, they owned property. That's what they did. They bought and sold property. They're property developers, or they were landlords. So it sort of something clicked in my head, and seeing my dad doing it as well, I was very inspired. And I didn't have the money to do it on my own, so I joint venture with my dad. We bought property from auction, Barnard Marcus auction in Northwood, a flat above a shop which needed completely renovating. And my dad sort of just let me handle it all at 18, which was a good experience. I was a confidence builder as well, because I had to deal with these really rough and ready builders who weren't amazing, and to do the property up. And after a lot of chasing the builders out of the pub, because they just wanted to be down the pub and not be doing the work, and we had a real nightmare with them, but eventually we got it finished, and the job was actually good, and we made our money. I made more money in that one deal than I did working all year as a removal man when I was 17. And yeah, definitely the penny started dropping, and I thought, I definitely want a bit more of this, and a lot.
That was the eye opener.
It was a real eye opener for me, and I thought, wow, the amount of time I've actually put into this, and I've made this amount of money, where I was working all day, killing myself as a removal man, and I made a lot less. It was a bit of a eureka moment, I suppose.
So that was the first deal that you've done?
That was the first deal I'd done. And yeah, we sold the property, made our profit, and then we bought another one straight away once that had gone through. And it was a rinse and repeat, buying it at auction again. Got something called bridging finance, which is like a short-term high-interest loan, which we'd done previously before. And it was an experience, and we actually got let down with the bridging finance because it was really like sort of kept Wild West back then, and they didn't lend us the money, and my dad had to go and borrow all the money on credit cards to get this property. Otherwise, we were going to lose our deposit, which was 10% of what we were buying it for, which was a lot of money for us back then. But we managed to do it. Then we got our traditional mortgage, like paid off the credit cards. And yeah, I still own that property to this day. And yeah, we were trying to sell it, couldn't sell it, but it was the best thing that ever happened is didn't. And now it's like worth obviously a lot more than when I bought it back then.
Was it harder to keep it over this long time? Were you always tempted to, shall we just sell it? Or
do you know what? Once I sort of realised and started educating myself on property and investing, and I sort of realised that the profit really is made owning assets for like longer periods. Then I sort of completely changed tack, and I didn't want to buy it and sell as much. I wanted to retain as much as possible, and then just look into the future, because property is a fantastic hedge against inflation, and your money's always losing money in the bank, but when it's in an asset like property, it's keeping pace and going up slightly. And yeah, that's how people sort of really get really wealthy in the long term in property.
Can you walk me through, obviously we know from your first deal and then the second deal, the property that you still have, can you walk me through what happened after that?
So then after that, me and my dad kept on buying properties at auction, and we were buying them, and there was a product then with Mortgage Express, where you could basically, we were buying properties like quite a lot below the market price at auction. You're taking a bit of a risk at auction. And then we were then remortgaging the properties and getting all our money back out again, and sometimes plus some. So we were getting paid, in essence, to own the property, which was amazing. And it was all going swimmingly well. And then the 2007, 2008 property crash came. Then that product then stops. And then it was a little harder to do that strategy anymore, because it was only the one lender that was doing it, which was Mortgage Express at the time. So then we had to pivot and do other stuff.
How did 2008 affect you and your dad?
It was tough, to be fair, especially for my father. To be honest, for me, it's actually pretty good. And I bought one of the best deals I ever bought actually in 2008 because it was just, no one wanted to buy. There was lending. You had to put 40% down to get a buy-to-let. A lot of people didn't have that. So there was some amazing deals to be had. And I just really wish I had loads more money because I would have bought everything I could have and would be doing even better now. But yeah, my dad, it was a bit tougher because he owned a removals company. Obviously, removals just fell off the side of a cliff. Plus, he had issues with some of his properties. So yeah, it was a lot tougher time for him and mum financially. But for me, it was pretty good.
So did you kept investing through 2008?
I did, yeah. I bought a property which had an annex on the side, and I managed to split that into two, really increase the value, and that's gave me a new idea of if I can buy one property, split it, then I can increase the value massively. I'm very
Just
keen.
walk me through that deal because that's an interesting story. I want to hear the whole story.
So I walked into a property, and then next door was this where the granny had stayed, and it was all just as one sort of thing with nothing fenced off. And as I'm walking around the first bit of the house, I was unimpressed, the rundown property, and they went, "Oh, you see next door?" And I was like, "Next door?" And then they were like, "Yeah." And so I walked in. I was like, "Oh my God, I could just see if I can just split the gas, the electric, the water, and fence this off. This could be a completely separate property, and I'm really going to boost the value." Never done anything like that at the time, but I bought that property, and it was like the best property I might have ever bought. I'd say financially, and it was I bought it real low because the market had tanked, no one was buying, and that's the time to buy a property, in my opinion. When everyone is leaving the market saying, the sky's falling, get out now. That's the time to go in. When everyone's going buy, be careful.
And then I just want to find out, in your opinion, if I'm at the beginning, I'm an 18-year-old, what is the advice you would give me to get started in a property investment?
I would say educate yourself first. The most powerful thing any of us have is between the ears what's in our mind. And with knowledge, then you can go on and do amazing things. And then after that, it would also be to build your self-confidence and your belief. Because once again, you can have all the knowledge, but if you don't have the belief in yourself and the confidence, you're never going to go for it. So those two together are a deadly duo.
I think it's very scary to get your first deal.
Yeah.
And I really like your story because you had your dad with you and you were back to back going through all these deals, and you ride the storm and you came through the other side on top.
Well, yeah, trying. I just feel like I'm just at the beginning, though. Really, just feel like there's a whole other mountain to climb, which is much bigger. So I'm very excited to climb that mountain.
You built all these experiences in the past, and obviously it's going to help you in the future. But I'm curious to find out with the property investment, right? What were the first principles as you grow up that helped you during this time at getting in the property investment game and help you stay in it focused? And because it's an emotional game too, right? When you start, when you put the money down and you get into debt, but obviously it's good debt, right? You have to turn them into good debt. And how do you stay focused and have a positive mindset when you know you're going into this game?
I think looking long term definitely helps. People that are looking for I bought a property and maybe now the recession's come, I'm 10 grand less, I want to sell it. That's the wrong mindset, in my opinion. You just got to think long term. Property always outstrips inflation. And if you're looking long term, it's actually a very safe bet. As long as you're buying right, you're not buying anything with massive issues you don't know about, and you can cash flow yourself. Where I see people go wrong is they've got nothing left for a rainy day, and the rainy day is always going to come. You're always going to have something goes wrong. The roof goes wrong, a boiler goes wrong. This is part of property, and you have to have the money behind you to weather that storm. So if you're literally like always on red, eventually you're going to come a cropper. So having that rainy day fund is very, very important.
And with everything that you know now, when you're going into a new deal, you want to go in, you've got a new property that came up, you want to check it out. What is your mental checklist? What do you go through?
So that's a good one, actually. And so basically I want to create value, or I want to buy value. So I either want to get a really good deal, it's really massively underpriced because for whatever reason the people are very motivated to sell, and money is not their main objective. And for some people that is the case. Or I want to be able to create value, like that deal I was saying to you in 2008, where I can see I can massively increase the value if I do something here and maybe other people haven't seen. So that's a big one. And also it must make monthly profit. If I'm looking to keep a property for the long term, it must make profit, because if I'm losing money every month, there ain't many I can buy. But if they're always in the plus, then I can buy as many as I can and want to.
And let's say you found a good property. You found this property. You can add value to it. How do you go about acquiring this property?
Well, there's different ways. I like buying properties that are not actually on the market. So most people will go on to Rightmove and look, and then you're competing with everyone else. And don't get me wrong, I've bought properties like that, and you can get a deal like that. And I would say if you're looking for motivated sellers, looking for properties with free agents, been on for a very, very long time. Maybe it's only got one picture because the inside is looking pretty poor. These are all good ones to get a good deal. But buying ones that are not even on the market is the best one to buy, because you're not competing with anyone then. So that's some of the best deals I've got is that way. And you can do that by building relationships with estate agents and actually letting agents. That is an untapped market. And I've got some good deals from letting agents, because they might have a disgruntled landlord that wants to sell but it's being rented out, and then if they know that you're in the market, they say to the letting agent, oh yeah, I'm fed up, I want to get out. They go, oh, I know someone that invests in property, and that could be me or it could be you. So your network is very important.
You said a motivated seller. What is a motivated seller?
What is a motivated seller? Well, it's different things. If say you're married, you're getting divorced, you hate each other, your partner is making sweet love to someone else who they've moved in, you're going to be pretty motivated because you don't want to stay in that situation. I know I'd happily lose 20 grand to get out of that situation because it's toxic. So that is one. Sometimes it's people get in financial difficulty. They might have 100 grand's worth of equity, but in 3 months they're going to lose their house. So they happily take, 70 grand out and give me basically the 30 grand just so they got their 70. Once again, I would do the same thing. So that is ways you can find motivated sellers and help them get a sale. Obviously, you're looking to make money as well. But I think if you're always going from the frame of how can I help this person, how can I solve their problem, how can everyone win, that's always the best deal, and it can be done.
And I like the fact how you pointed out about networking.
Yeah.
Is it true, even in the property game, that it's not what you know, it's who you know?
I think what you know is very important as well, to be honest with you. Because if you don't know anything, then you can get taken for a ride for someone that knows a lot more. But your network is very, very important, and having a good team around you, learning from people better, further down the road than you. It doesn't have to be a lot. You might have one property, but someone's got 5. Start learning from, go for a coffee with them, start to learn off of them what they're doing, so you can get to that next stage and then find someone above that. It's very important. Yeah, your network is very, very important. And go to network meetings, property network meetings. They're all over the country all the time, and some of them are like very, very cheap to go to.
That's why I was curious to find out what are the ways in which you network. How do you find connections, and how do you establish the connection with these people, with strangers in the game? How would you do that?
Different ways, to be fair, and weirdly, so the barbers I go to, they got a copy of my book there, and I was sitting down, and this guy was next to me reading my book, and I looked over and I had a hat on and a scarf, and I said, "A great guy actually wrote that book," and he sort of looked at me a bit weird, and he went, "Are you Rory Palmer?" I was like, "Yes, I am." It turns out he's got loads of properties. And I was like, "Oh, we should go for a coffee." So that was just an example last week which would happen. And it turns out he owns loads of properties. So this is a very easy way. That's never happened before, to be fair. But yeah, like going to estate agents, you get talking to people. Networking events are very, very important because you're just around other property people and you can learn. And that is how we learn, isn't it? Off other people. It's like learning jiu-jitsu. If you're going to learn it, I'm only going to learn it on my own with a dummy. You're limited to what you can do. You need to be around other people that are also interested, and you can experience things and learn techniques off each other. So it's a very important thing. But you can also do this virtually. You can do it from books, from seminars. All these ways are a great way to learn as well.
So what would be the first touch point for someone that is at the beginning of their game and they want to get in the property game and they need to go out and start networking? What would be the first thing to do?
I mean, I would say go and speak to estate agents. They know about property. I would go to your local networking event and just start chatting to people, make friends. You don't have to have any agenda, but just want to make friends, build some contacts, and you'd be amazing how these things can start spiraling into something more. And then, just start reading books on the subject. Fantastic book right there, of course.
Amazing. I read it. I enjoyed it.
Oh, good.
I recommend it.
Oh, thank you very much. Very kind of you.
I'm waiting for the next one to come also.
Oh, well, the next book actually is a children's book I'm doing. Hero and Little Champ, and I'm raising money for charity. So it's nothing to do with property, but it's a great book to buy. And all the profits go to kids' charities. So get that one. But there will be another book coming in the future.
How did you find writing a book? Obviously, you've been doing property for a bit. You've learned the game, and now you decided to actually share your story. How did you find that?
Well, that's it, Charlie. Really, it was literally just I want to share my story. I feel like I've got something I can help people. I want to put it in a very easy to read way. I wanted to make it as easy as possible, a quick read, so it wasn't like you're reading, War and Peace. And I started writing it over COVID, just a little bit every day. But these 5 minutes here, 10 minutes here, half hour, it all starts to add up. And it was a great experience.
It is actually an easy book to read. It's very enjoyable.
That's what
there are books that I've read. It's just you read through and then you get to a point where your mind disconnected. You'd have to get back into the zone and refocus again. But with your book, it just flows very nicely. Once you're in the story, it's hard to come out.
Yeah,
basically, that's how I felt. I was just kept, page by page, page by page.
Oh,
really enjoyed it.
Thank you. It's very nice of you to say. And I actually took lots of stuff out because I wanted to take out any fluff sort of thing. I just wanted to give you a bit of a story because I think always that's the nice thing. Some of my favourite books, they sort of get you in with their story, they draw you into that, and then the learning sort of begins. I just wanted to make it for people that don't read a book that's not very intimidating. That was my objective there.
I think you accomplished it.
Oh, you're too kind, sir. Charmer, Charlie. Absolute charmer.
I think you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it, though.
Oh, thank you.
I'm curious to find out what were the lessons learned in writing a book.
Lessons learned were little minutes add up. So, just doing 2 minutes here, And literally, I had never wrote anything before. I've actually really struggled with writing. I'm terrible at grammar, spelling. It's like a massive weakness. But just because I'm not good at that doesn't mean I can't partner up with someone who is very good at that. Like my editor, she's amazing. She's great at grammar, spelling. So that was like really, really good. Just to partner up with someone else. Just because you're weak at something doesn't mean you can't partner with someone else. And this is the bit I didn't like at school. It had to be all you. But in real life, you know, wherever you're weak, you can delegate that out and you can play to your strengths. So that was a learning experience. Yeah, just get started. You know, you don't have to be perfect. Just get going, and then just see what happens. That is the way forward. Yeah, just get going. That's the hardest bit, just getting started.
What do I have to do to convince you to turn this one into an audiobook?
Not a lot, to be fair. You've got to teach me how to do it. Once again, because I am, you know, I was a complete novice. I'd never done anything like that before. But that is definitely the way forward, and yeah, that's something that I should do, definitely. So yeah, you're not going to twist my arm too much on that one.
Cool. So we need to get that one
definitely
sorted.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be very good to add that onto your resume.
Well, this be another learning thing there, isn't it? And once again, that's something I'm going to have to delegate out to someone that knows what they're doing, because you know, if over my head, the same as doing a book, it was just a very daunting task, to be honest with you, to start off with. But you know, you just go along, you get to one red light, you don't know what you're doing, you learn, okay, then you push on to the next one. And that's what we do everything in life. That's how I've done everything with property. I had zero clue what I was doing. You start making mistakes, you learn, you grow, you move on again, you get hit another roadblock, and you're like, oh, you know. But that's with everything. Like same with jiu-jitsu, you know, you get tap, and then you start improving, things tweak. And there's I feel like sports in general teaches you that skill.
Now, it's so much to your story. I'm extremely mind blown about from early days to where you are now. Property investor, personal trainer, and I want to touch up a bit on your martial arts journey. Can you tell me, how did you get started with the martial arts?
So my dad was a boxer, and obviously my dad was my hero. He boxed for Hogarth Boxing Club. So I always had an interest, and I used to go to shows with my dad, kickboxing shows. And then when mixed martial arts came around, it was actually illegal in the UK. And the only place they would show it was in Milton Keynes. It was the only place that they would have it in the whole of the country, because lovely Milton Keynes with all its roundabouts. So, and you had to be 18 to go and watch these shows. And I was about 15, 16. And my dad said, like, put on this big, like, workman's jacket and 3 jumpers. And, you know, if you were there with me, we'd get in. And I did. And I just watched it. I was fascinated that, you know, what is this stuff that they're rolling around on the floor? People are tapping. I can't even see what's going on. Like, why have they tapped? What's going on there? I just thought a boxer was going to come in and just knock everyone out, and it was quite the opposite. The grapplers were coming in and just destroying everyone. They probably weren't even that good. They just knew 3 or 4 moves than the other person. Yeah, and it became a bit of a fascination for me. So I started kickboxing when I was 17, and then I got into mixed martial arts, and to start training at this very rough club. I was surprised. It turned out to be, as there was a lot going on at that club, but it was a learning experience, and everything after that felt quite easy, to be fair. But yeah, it was great, and I'm so glad I got started on it. I made some lifelong friends from it as well.
A great achievement, black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, that was a big one, actually.
How did you find the whole journey up to the black belt? And obviously, the journey's not finished now.
No, definitely not. No, absolutely. There's always learning to be done. And even now, after training for so long, you know, I'm still learning things, and it will never stop. And I love that, because as people, we always want to progress and move forward. Obviously, when you first start, the learning curve's like here, and then it does level out. But you should always keep learning. And yeah, no, getting my black belt, that was a very, very proud moment from my instructor, Z Marcelo, who I greatly admire. He was a fantastic coach. He was actually one of the first Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts who taught from Brazil in the UK, because there wasn't hardly any when I first started. There was literally like 5, I think it was, in the whole of the country. And I was very lucky that he came over and I linked up with him, and I went right from white belt to black belt with Z. So
Do you remember the first session?
oh my
On the mats?
God! So I'd already actually trained in mixed martial arts for a while and been grappling, and I thought I was pretty sort of tough. So I had grappled and knew some moves, and then I remember my first rolling session with my instructor Z, and he just absolutely schooled me like I was a little kid. I think I tapped out like 8 times in 5 minutes, and I could feel he was going really easy. I just thought, what the hell? And I had mixed martial arts fights at this point, and I just remember felt quite helpless. But it was fantastic because it lit a fire to learn this sport. And wow, if he can do that to me, then it's something that can be learned. And I want to be the black belt that can do that. And yeah, so it was very, very inspiring and humbling all at the same time. So yeah, it was awesome. And I'm so glad I got to do this sport, because everything after life feels so much easier when someone's like strangling you and putting you in all these horrible positions. When you have normal day-to-day stuff, it all feels easy, doesn't it? After someone's like choking you out. So yeah.
I always used to say when I do cold calling or whatever I do, if I go into a little bit of a more tougher situation, right, I'm always thinking, is the other guy have any chance to choke me out? No.
Exactly, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. I mean, in today's world where we're very safe and comfortable, it's one of the more challenging things you can do. Unless you were part of the army and you got bullets flying past you, it's probably the only step up really from that. So everything after that is easy. Like a job interview, what's worse could happen? They're going to say no. Is it that bad? So yeah, I think it gives you a good grounding. Everyone should learn a little bit.
So do you think being part of martial arts and practicing martial arts impacted your life?
100%. Yeah, I think it made me more confident. It made me deal with failure and success and learning that they are linked. You can't have one without the other. You can't have massive success without loads, if not more, failure. And that is a vital lesson for life there. You have to be humble and sort of just take it on the chin and realise we are all human, we're going to make mistakes. But it's the learning, the growing and coming back. That's the important bit.
We always used to have a saying for the jiu-jitsu. When you get started, it's hard. But the first lesson you learn is you don't tap under pressure. Pressure is there. Acknowledge it, accept it, and move on.
Yeah.
We don't tap to pressure. And I think that is a big, big, big change in one's mentality once you start practicing martial arts and then you go into business and whatever you said, job interviews.
It's nothing.
It's nothing.
Yeah, but it gives you a sense of perspective. Sometimes perspective can be lost if you never have nothing to push up against. You never had any problems in your life. You've got no sense of comparison. But if you've had some more challenging things you had to deal with in life and in martial arts, grappling, etc., you're in a very uncomfortable position. And if you can stay relaxed all the time, you stay relaxed in that, then you can take that out to life and in business. It's very important. It's not a surprise that is it Elon Musk and the guy for the Facebook guy as well. Zuckerberg. They're learning jiu-jitsu now. It doesn't surprise me.
I think they were supposed to fight.
Oh, that'd be an interesting one. I think it's going to be the greatest fight.
Pulled out.
That doesn't surprise me. They both got a lot to lose, but fair play to them for learning a little bit. I can fully respect that.
Zuckerberg is actually a blue belt now.
Is he? So he's a bit of a ninja.
He's actually training both Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA, which is quite interesting.
And it's brilliant because it's making the sport more mainstream.
Exactly.
We're back when I first started training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA, people just thought it was human cockfighting. They didn't realise it was a sport. I think my grandma and I was like mortified, being like a primary school teacher, very middle class. But yeah, obviously it's a lot more to that. It is a sport, and a very awesome sport to watch in my mind.
What is next for Rory Palmer?
This is it. Well, like I was saying to you, I just feel like, especially with the property stuff, I feel like I'm just at the start, and I'm gonna be going up. So I want to buy loads more properties. I want to massively increase the amount that I own, the passive income that's coming in for me. That's the thing I find really sexy about property, is the passive income, lying in bed, making money. That's the way to do it in my mind. As much as I love personal training, as soon as I stop personal training someone, that money stops. But making money whilst you're in bed, you're on holiday, that's really the way forward. So I want a lot more of that. And live a happy life. To be happy in life is like the biggest gift. I'm actually, luckily, a very positive person, but I want more of that. I want to live a life on my terms, answering to me. And yeah, then once I achieve, hopefully, the success I'm looking to achieve, I would like to help the world and do nice things, like I'm doing this book for children's charities, Hero and Little Champ. I'd like to do more things like that and give away more money and help more people. Is like the further down the road goal. So yeah, the future I feel is very, very exciting.
Is there any date in mind for the new book?
Yes, very soon actually, and I'm hoping, because it's all the profits going to charity, people can get behind that more, and it's an anti-bullying book, which is like something I feel very passionate about. I'm sure a lot of other people do as well. So yeah, I hope it does well. So if anyone supports it, thank you very much.
I'm going to let them know as soon as that book gets published.
I'll greatly appreciate that. Yeah, because I love it to do really well, and then I could give more money to the kids' charities that really need it. Hopefully that makes a difference.
That's a very good cause, and I'm looking forward. Once the book gets published, then I'm more than happy to just jump on it and support it as much as I can.
I appreciate that. It's very nice of you. Yeah, and yes, another little mission and target, and I've got no clue how to promote a kid's book, so I'm very much out of my element. But this is a great thing, because then I'm going to learn, and then I'm going to evolve, and when I do other things in the future, hopefully that's going to pay off. So yeah, it's all exciting.
All exciting things for the future.
Definitely, yeah, absolutely. Life is exciting. Life is a gift in my mind, and sure, if we're healthy, you got your family with you. If you've not got a pound in your pocket, you're a rich person, because a lot of people don't have that. So always be grateful for what you got. And a positive mindset, that is like the greatest weapon in my mind you can have in life.
Amazing. Rory, if anyone wants to follow you on socials, where can they find you?
So on Instagram, it's Rory Palmer 10, spelt with a R on the Palmer, because I spelled it wrong when I first set it up. And on Facebook, it's just Rory Palmer, and you can follow me on YouTube, which is Rory Palmer Property. I release a new video every week, just giving tips and tricks about property.
Amazing.
Thank you very much, Rory.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to speak to you.
Thanks.
I think we need to make a part 2 soon.
I'm definitely up for that. I absolutely love talking, as you can tell. So yeah, I'm very much up for that, and thank you for having me as well.
Thank you.
Very good interview, Charlie. Very calm demeanour, the same as jiu-jitsu, the same in your interview style there. Very, very impressed.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Cheers.